We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Franklin Springboro Public Library. My name is Nan Allen. Today's program is Maintaining Your Home PC for Beginners, and I'll start with a few announcements. If you would please turn off your cell phones at this time. Restrooms are located through the back door and down the hallway. And if you would please let the presenter answer questions that are directed towards him. This morning's presenter is David Trifiro. He's going to show us a number of things we can do to keep our computers running like new. David founded Layer 2 Computers in 2008 with the mission of making technology simply work for residential and small business users. Please join me in welcoming David Trifiro.
Okay, perfect. Well, I will get started. So I'm David Trifiro. I'm the managing member of Layer 2 Computers. It's just me, and I have an assistant who kind of takes care of the office side of things. As you can see from my logo here, it's a little computer chip kind of showing what I do. And then last year I was a Super Service Award winner through Angie's List, and I also got that award this year. I don't have the picture yet to show it, but I just got nominated for that. I've been doing computer work for 8 years. I've been in business for 8 years now. My parents joke that I learned Control-Alt-Delete before I was actually speaking any verbal language, so I've always been kind of had the thing for computers. We're going to go over lots of stuff on here. We're going to go over physical maintenance and software maintenance. We're going to talk about the updating, the cleaning, good virus protection versus bad stuff, different upgrades you can do, and just a lot of stuff that normally you wouldn't hear in a class. So hopefully you guys will learn something. If you guys have any questions at any point, just kind of let me know. Just kind of flag me, and we can talk about that segment for a little longer, or whatever you guys need. So this is tailored for you guys. So, and if I'm going too fast or anything, please let me know. And I'm also recording the presentation. I'm going to email that out. So hopefully that will all work out. So first thing, the hardware of a computer. The hardware is anything physical on the computer, and the hardware side of things is very sensitive to heat. It's also sensitive to a lot of dust. Ideally, if you guys, let's take a little poll here. You guys have like desktops or laptops or tablets, or what's kind of the desktops? Laptop? Okay. Laptops. Okay, perfect. Okay, so with laptops, the biggest thing there is that you always want to make sure that the vents on the back or on the side or sometimes around the bottom, it's always good to make sure that those are clear and dust free. Which I think, let me zoom ahead one here. Okay. Come on in. I will give you one of these. And then there is a sign-in sheet floating right there. If you can sign in. Yep, not a problem. So on the hardware side of things, like I said, on laptops, the biggest thing is keeping those vents clean and air-free, so air can circulate through them. If your computer is randomly turning off, generally that's a sign of overheating. So if you have a desktop, there's a couple big fans on the back of the computer. Once again, you always want to make sure that those are clear and clean from obstructions and dust bunnies that build up there. And especially if you kind of have your computer under a desk or something, you tend to get a lot of heat build up in there. So just something to think about. And you guys can always take a can of compressed air. I don't recommend a vacuum necessarily, because if you vacuum it out, you might hit something on accident if you're inside of a desktop computer. So it's a good idea just to use the blowing of the compressed air as opposed to vacuum. So just a little tidbit there. Roughly 25% of my calls, which we troubleshoot over the phone, are fixed by checking cabling. If the internet's not working, or maybe a cat walked across the back of the computer and unplugged something on accident, or stuff like that. So it's always good whenever you're having issues to check all the cabling on the computer, restart the computer if it's turning on, and then if you're having internet troubles, it's always a good idea to call the ISP, that's your internet service provider, which in Springboro, it's either AT&T or Time Warner Cable. Some people have UVerse if you're kind of on the outside of Springboro. Other options might be Earthlink. They still have some accounts in the area. Definitely. All right, so kind of going on the dust rant here. Dust definitely can kill a computer. It is probably the #1 cause of overheating computers and that kind of an issue. The other thing that you got to watch out for, especially if you're using laptops, is if you're like on your couch, especially in the winter, if you're on like your couch or in bed or something with the laptop down, you want to make sure that there's no like fluffy blankets or anything that's basically keeping all the heat, sucked in, because blankets are good at absorbing heat and keeping it on. But if your laptop's on your blanket or something, it's going to kill the computer over time. And you'll notice it, like the fan, it'll get really loud, or it will, like I said, just turn off randomly, that kind of thing. So, just some things to think about there.
Which component is most susceptible to overheat?
To heat?
The
Yes.
CPU?
Yeah, the CPU and the power supply. The power supply, which is where basically you plug into the wall. There's a lot of components in there that just don't like heat. If they die on a desktop, it's very replaceable. Just less than $100 kind of thing. I take it for a day or two and take care of it. If it's on a laptop and it overheats, because everything's more compact, it makes it a lot harder to replace. And most of the time, you're looking at $300 or $400. You might as well just get a new computer at that point. So that's why heat's such a big issue. This is a little picture that I took with my little blower guy that I have there, and any form of compressed air, or even like a air compressor, works pretty well. You just want to make sure you don't turn on the computer for like an hour or so afterwards, just let any moisture that was blown around to kind of dry out. So just something to keep in mind there. Ditching old power strips. Power strips can affect computers quite a bit. If you have an old power strip, let's say, hey, I got one right here. This little guy, he was replaced from a customer strictly because it was, number one, it has a built-in kind of like protection, and it burnt itself, which is good, it saves the computer. But then after that, these things basically send a lot of weird, like when power comes into your house, it comes in waves, and a good power strip or a good battery backup levels it all out, so it's very smooth going into the computer. So ideally, your computer's not getting any like brownouts or anything weird like that. And that's where like a battery backup and something. The point of that is, number one, if the power goes out, you can still have internet, or your computer will still work. Or number two, it evens out the power just to make it more smooth and conditioned for your computer, a little easier to use and safer on a computer. So kind of moving forward here, another common thing that will help the computer is just giving it a reboot. Everyone's computer needs a reboot every once in a while. I recommend, this is totally up to you on how you handle it, but some people turn off every single time they're done with it. Perfectly fine. Other people, I personally leave mine on, and I reboot it about once a week. That's kind of like the most you would really want a normal computer to be on, is once a week. The good thing about rebooting is it helps kind of clear out anything that's been running in the background, including any of those like updates and stuff. What it does is it lets those updates run. Normally those run when the computer turns on, and so if you don't reboot your computer, those updates can't install. And Microsoft, every second Tuesday of the month, I believe it is, they release all of their updates, and if your computer never turns off, you're never going to get those security updates. So, rebooting, yes? My guess is there's something running in the background that has some feature that's preventing it from going to sleep. Yeah. That's based on the computer. I can't give you an exact figure. That's the one thing I meant to look up from the other presentation I did. Someone else asked that question. I think, I'm not 100% sure to be honest with you. It says on the back of the computer itself, though. On the laptops, it'll say on the bottom of it. On a desktop, it'll say on the back where you plug in. It'll tell you how many kilowatt hours it uses per day or whatever if it's on all the time. Like a standard computer power supply uses like 200 to 400 watts is what the power supply is. Now that might only be at like 20% utilization. The reboot is also really good because it helps clear out the short-term memory, which is the RAM. And an example of the RAM, in a desktop, your memory or your RAM looks like this. And it's just short-term memory. And but
Oh, is that, are the white things the chips?
no, the white things are just the labels, but I can pass it around. It's all broken anyway. So it's
Do you not have chips in it?
there are chips underneath the stickers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're just hidden. Yep.
What's the name of this memory?
Yep. This is RAM, so it's called Random Access Memory,
I know, but
and
what
it's
generation is it?
that exact.
They're different acronyms of different
Yes.
generations.
That one is old. I think it's DDR2 or DDR3, which it's just an older memory. It's nothing I just pulled out of a computer. Yeah. So, I mean, the short-term memory is what allows you to multitask on a computer. It's kind of like the equivalent of me spitting out all this information, and then, like, writing it down is putting it on your hard drive, like storage, like long-term. And your short-term memory would be what's in your brain and just what you can capture in the moment kind of thing. So that's kind of how I think of it. Does that, yes? Questions? Yes?
My updates
Okay,
seem to
good.
run, my updates seem to run when I shut it.
Mhm. That is perfectly normal. Yeah, it's when you shut it off or turn it on.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a two-process thing where part of the update will go in when we shut off, part of the update will finish, you know, because some files might be in use, and so it has to finish when it turns back on. And I think you had a question back there? Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I can address that right now. I will show you. Okay, so right here I have.
Isn't that just a matter of turning it off and then turning it on again?
Well, you don't.
There's
I ideally you don't want to just like power it off kind of thing. You know, like hold the power button. That's horrible for a computer. It can really do some bad stuff to it. But ideally, depending on your operating system. Do you guys know what operating systems you have? Just to pull it, doesn't matter if you don't. I don't really care. But do you know if you guys have like Windows? How old is the computer? 3 years. Okay, so probably Windows 7 is my guess. Which is okay. Which that's what I have right here on the screen. So if you go down to the little start bubble down here, you have your shutdown option, and that will actually just like power it off, and then you can walk away and unplug it or whatever. And then if you click on the little arrow right here, here's where you're going to have restart. And what that does is it automatically turns it off and then turns it back on. So the benefit there is that you don't have to sit there and hit the power button again. So, and like I said, this will be in video, so don't stress too much over it now. So yeah, really don't worry about it. We'll get you straightened out, so don't worry. Yep.
And you do things like that on an iPad too?
On an iPad or like an iPhone, for example, it's good to do. But needless to say, on like an iPhone, for example, there's just a power button on the side. Or on an iPad, there's a power button on the side, or any Android tablets or phones and stuff. But yeah, it's not as necessary on those as is a Windows or Mac computer.
When you reboot it, then these things automatically update? Or
Most
no?
of them, yes. All the Windows side of things do, yes. Now we're going to look at the software side of things, and this is where a lot more questions I think come up, because every computer is different, so kind of keep that in mind. The configuration is different versus, what you have is different than what I have versus what they have up there, kind of thing. And the software is anything that's running on the computer. So hardware is physical, software is kind of like what you're interacting with. It's Windows, it's Acrobat Reader, it's Flash, it's Java, it's Internet Explorer, it's the internet. That's kind of all software related stuff. And that's where like all your pictures and videos and games and stuff reside also. Just a quick little tidbit here. If you still happen to be on Windows XP, it has passed away as of 2014 in April. So what that means is that for Windows XP, Windows is no longer providing any updates for you, security or anything. Sadly, about half of the world's ATMs still run Windows XP. They are paying Microsoft millions upon millions of dollars to keep updating it. But otherwise, as a consumer, if you're on XP, we need to upgrade that and get you out of that. So, the power of a computer, like my cell phone, is more powerful than the rocket that brought the astronauts to the moon. Like that's just crazy to even think about. So any new computers, they have so much more power in them. When people make software for them, they don't care so much about the performance of software because they just know the computer is going to handle it. So it's important to, that's probably the reason why all the updates are always coming out every week and that kind of stuff. So, one of the biggest things you can do for any computer is getting rid of all the temporary files, all of the cookies, all of that stuff. And I know we had a question about that. This is a big bullet point on your little syllabus here. It is right under software maintenance. And that will tell you where to download it and kind of take care of that. So
is that your thing, or is that
CCleaner it's a third-party software package. I use it all the time. It works really, really well. And I'm going to run it and kind of show you how to use it.
Okay,
So.
is it a freeware thing?
It is free, yes. And I will show you how to do that. So what we'll do go over to my computer here, and we're going to go to, I believe the website address is, and on my website here, I link through my website, that way you guys don't get anything with a lot of spyware in it and stuff, because sometimes when you search for these tools, if there's something on your computer, it'll direct you to elsewhere, and you don't want that. So if we go, which it shows on number 2 there, layer2computers.com/updates. Oh wait, no, just kidding. CCleaner. So in here, basically it just walks you through with what to do. It'll explain to you how to download and run that, but essentially, once it's installed, you get a little icon on your desktop. It looks like this. CCleaner essentially stands for crap cleaner. It gets rid of all of the crap that builds up on your computer.
Does Norton 360 do that also?
I think they try. This is like the industry standard tool that does it. Yeah, it's a fairly small company. They've been in existence for years and years and years now, but it works really well, and it works on all versions of Windows and even Mac. So if you have Macs at home, this does no virus removal or anything like that. Which we'll get to that though. That's a couple down the list, but we'll definitely address that. Yeah. So CCleaner though, so what you do is you run the program, and then all you have to do, it's like one click. You hit Run Cleaner right there. And then what it does is it goes through and it basically checks all of these different points. Temporary files, history, cookies, recently, typed URLs. It goes through empty the recycling bin, temporary files, a clipboard, any memory dumps, if there are a lot of geeky stuff that, it automatically keeps what's checked with what's standard to get rid of. It will go through. This helps because when you're browsing the internet, let's say you pull up layer2computers.com, my website. So then I have a picture of my logo at the top. If you haven't ran CCleaner, it will search your whole computer of temporary files, like the whole file of temporary files, for that one picture. And if you run CCleaner, it clears all that out, so then stuff will load up faster when you're browsing the internet. So that's the biggest advantage to clearing out temporary files and cookies and stuff like that. Otherwise, the computer just has to search your computer for those files, and most likely, if it's a new website, it won't find them. And CCleaner will help the computer be able to kind of process that stuff faster.
I have a savings account, and I'm sure that savings account puts cookies on my computer. Do I want to get rid of those cookies?
This thing has an intelligent cookie scanner built in, to where it's going to get rid of only the tracking ones that do advertisements and that kind of stuff in it. For example, I use Huntington Bank. It keeps a little cookie on my computer to make sure it's my computer. It doesn't get rid of those. Or if you're logged into your Yahoo or Gmail account or whatever, or Time Warner account, and you have the thing that says keep me logged in all the time, it will not get rid of those either. So.
How do you know that your Huntington Bank cookie hasn't been removed? How do you know whether it's there or not there?
You can look at it if you care. We can track it down.
Then they don't really know that you were, right?
And then they'll just re-ask you to reauthorize your account or reauthorize up with that computer.
So then you have to answer those security questions.
Exactly. That prevents you from doing that. Yep. Exactly. And that always happens. Me too. Did you have a question back there? I think so. Oh yeah, definitely. So CCleaner, it's good to do once a week, and it's just something that the benefit, like I said, the benefit there is it's just going to help speed things up. So you don't have to worry, about going in and manually getting rid of all that stuff. So. The iPad and stuff, they don't. Yeah, that's a good question. iPad, that's not really a problem on there. Apple or even Google with their Android tablets, they handle it a lot more intelligently. Windows Vista through Windows 8 and 8.1 and even Windows 10, you'll want to run a CCleaner on. And the benefit there, like I said, it just kind of speeds things up. So. And even on Mac, I have, which this computer's a Mac, but I'm running Windows, and that's what you're looking at right there. So, I have CCleaner on my Mac, and it works. It helps speed things up. So.
How often do you run CCleaner?
Yep, once a week is generally the best thing to do. So does anyone have any questions about CCleaner and kind of, like I said, if you go to my website and that link on the little piece of paper, that will walk you through how to download exactly, more in depth of what it does. So I could talk about CCleaner for probably 3 hours. So any other questions on that? Cool. All right. So defragging. Defragging, this kind of addresses your question here. It's old school at this point. After Windows XP, every single operating system that's ever been released does it automatically. It's not necessary anymore. It's a very old school thing in the sense of imagine like here, right, let me pull these out here. This is your hard drive, and this is a laptop for everyone with a laptop, and this is a desktop hard drive. And on a hard drive, all your information is stored on them, and it kind of just like puts a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. Defragmenting, what it does is it sandwiches all that together, so it's easier for the computer to understand. These things do it automatically now, and your operating system handles that. Generally, it's scheduled to run every night or every day when there's just not much going on your computer. So the computers are intelligent enough to realize, well, they're just browsing the internet, so I'm going to go ahead and do some stuff in the background. Generally, they do that. By default, out of the box, every computer will do that nowadays.
And all
Mac.
Macs do that?
Yep. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it started at Mac. Operating system, I think it was 10.6, I think. I could be wrong, but anything, I mean, mine did it when I first bought it, and it's 6 years old, or 5 years old, so if you have Mac that's more newer than like 5 years, you should be fine on that. And like I said, it just kind of aligns all the little files up, and you can kind of see in that picture, you know, all the little red ones are little fragments, and then the blue ones are files that are smushed together. I don't know why you're too involved with that, because it's just not necessary anymore, so no need to stress about defragging. All right. Okay, cool. This is a fun topic. Updates. Everyone always has questions about updates. I'll go down everything, and then we'll open up for questions about updates, okay? That's just the easiest way to do it, I think. Windows and Apple updates are done on a monthly occasion. Those ones are the ones that automatically come in, and when you shut down your computer, it'll say, hey, we need to do an update. Is it cool if we do that? Those are what those ones are. Those are security patches directly from Microsoft or Apple. It's most of the time it's done automatically. Depending on your settings, you might have to say, okay, install them now kind of thing. But it should take care of all that. So, third-party updates, which is like the Flash, Acrobat Reader, Java. There's like 50 or so programs that if you have them installed, it will want to update on a weekly basis. Just to raise a hand, so have you guys seen Flash or Java or Acrobat Reader pop up and say it needs to update? Yeah. Okay. Those things are very, very, very good to do. And we'll address how to know if they're good or not in a second here. Flash, for example, they run in conjunction with, like, whenever you browse the internet, let's say you go to AOL.com and there's a video playing. That uses Flash. If you go to YouTube.com, that uses Flash. Java is more like a game that's on the internet, like if you play cards online, or if you, anything that involves media, like let's say you're uploading a picture to Facebook, that uses Java, for example. A PDF file is going to be like a document that you can't edit. It's, a lot of people email them out, or if you're downloading like a registration form for something, or your church may send out bulletins in PDF form. Statements from bank come in PDF forms. Yeah, anything that's like secured that they don't want you to edit. So you wouldn't want to be able to edit your bank, statement to say, well, I got $100,000 more, and then bring it to them and be like, hey, it says I have $100,000 more. Where's my money? So they put it in a PDF file so you can't change it and edit it. So, and your antivirus updates, which generally run at a minimum daily, and mostly automatically happens every hour, is kind of on that side of things. Okay? Yeah.
Should we?
They're not your computers, are they?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not ours, and
They don't want us to download
they don't want us to do
anything. Is that
something,
downloaded?
but sometimes
Yeah.
you can't.
You can't do what you need to do.
Exactly.
Well, that's a great question. I don't know where that's at. I guess if that was me, I'm a rule follower, and I feel like if that, I wouldn't touch it, to be honest with you, because you don't want to be blamed for breaking it if it's a public computer. Ideally, which I don't know about the library here, and Anne can answer that question too, but I'm assuming they either have someone in-house or someone who just kind of handles that stuff just on the side, or they have an outside company that goes in and updates all that stuff. Like, I offer those services that I'll mention at the very end, but, where, all those updates should be done either in the background or something. So, question for you, Nan. Do you guys have someone you guys have public computers here, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yes. Do you guys have someone who manages those, or?
Yes, Chad.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
His desk is over at Franklin. That's
Perfect.
where
He's the
all
IT guy for the libraries, yeah. So he probably handles all the updates for here. I'm guessing like all that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it doesn't happen here. Moral of the story: the library's got everything going, and the senior center seems like they're a little, they just need someone to manage that stuff. But yes, go ahead.
If when we go in there, is it going to have to be updating all those backgrounds, or will it just take the most recent stuff?
For the Windows ones, it will do them in a sequential order. Yeah. For the Windows and Apple updates, it will. For the third-party updates, it will just take the newest one and just put that in place. Same thing for antivirus updates, excuse me. It'll just take all those. You'll basically group all the old ones together and put them on your computer. So now this leads to the question, how do we know if an update is safe or not? Any ideas? No clues? Okay, cool. Okay, are you thinking something?
Yeah, it was good.
Well, if it's something that you want, like Adobe is a fairly straight company.
Yeah,
Some of the others I don't know about.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
I mean, when this thing pops up, how do you know that's really from Adobe?
Yeah, that is the biggest problem that I see.
Can't
And
you hover over the link and it'll down at the bottom give you the address of where it's going to send you?
I wish it was that easy, yes. And an email, yes, that's perfect. But in one of these updates, what happens is, when you first turn on your computer, all of these software packages, Adobe Flash, Acrobat Reader, all that stuff, they're running in the background as soon as you turn your computer on. If they pop up without nothing else on the computer, it's generally a good update. Now, if you're browsing the internet, let's say you're on Internet Explorer, or Google Chrome, or whatever, Firefox, and you're on some website that you searched for a recipe for something, and you get an update for Flash, generally, you want to ignore it.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing recently.
Yes.
I'm doing something that's not a startup, and
Yeah.
this thing comes up and says, your Adobe Flash Player is corrupted, do this right now.
Generally ignore those. If it has urgency, and it's like you have to do it now kind of thing, those are generally the bad ones. Like I said, if you turn your computer on, wait 3 minutes, just do this once a week or whatever. Just walk away, do laundry or whatever, come back, and there's a couple updates of like Flash needs update, Java needs update. Those are the ones you want to do. The good updates will already have software in place to automatically update that when you turn your computer on. Yeah, that happens in the background, so you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, so if it comes up in the middle while you're doing something, it's not.
Yeah, unless it just says you need to close it to do the update.
No, it
That's
never
it.
says that. It says,
Okay.
do you want to do it now?
Yep,
Or
ignore it.
remind me later.
That depending on what version of Firefox it was. You probably want to do that one then, yeah. The most recent version to do update automatically just whenever your computer turns on. That's a fairly new concept in the past year, so that's why I'm thinking it might not be there yet. So here's what you want to avoid, like when you're browsing the internet. And where'd my windows go? There we go. So let's say you're on Internet Explorer here, and you're going to Google or something, or always go to the MSN page, pulls up automatically, that's fine. Okay, so then we go up here and we search for, I don't know, what should we search for? How to make chicken salad, sure. Oop. Alright, there we go. So we're searching for a recipe or something, and we click on some link, and we're not really sure what this website is or whatever, but we're looking, okay, recipe.com. So we go there, and this looks legitimately perfectly fine stuff, but then suddenly, which I don't think this website's going to do this, but suddenly a pop-up pops up about Flash. Those are the ones you want to ignore, or Java, or something like that. If it ever pops up while you're on the internet, completely ignore them, and if you can't get rid of it, shut down your computer and just restart it. That will kind of get you to a clean point on your computer. Because the minute you click install from a pop-up online, that's when it all hits the fan and it's not pretty. So
what happens? What are they doing to you?
generally, they're installing malware, spyware kind of stuff, potential viruses, trying to steal information off your computer.
So, is there any safe point you can click to get rid of that thing?
Yeah, if it's a legitimate company, I mean, you should be able to just you should just be able to click on like an X at the top and get rid of it. Sometimes I see a lot of
There's an X in the corner which will get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no X and it's just a plain screen. And I've seen those. There's nothing on there to click. You say something.
That's probably fake. Yeah.
How do I get rid of it?
That's when it's the easiest way is just shut down your computer and turn it back on. Yeah, because sometimes they pop up, and being the geeky side of things, they can program and just get rid of the X at the top. if they're trying to do something, because they want it in your face and they want you to click on it.
One spot to click, and that's going to expose you to all kinds of stuff.
Correct, Mundo. Yes,
And
that's
I've
100%
had
right.
where I've clicked on the X and it starts doing other things.
Yeah, or it will pop up and say, "Are you sure? Are you sure?"
Right.
Ugh. Yeah, that's so aggravating. Yeah, it does happen. It should close out of it legitimately. Yeah, it should. Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't, it'll pop up and say, "Are you sure you want to leave?" And that's when you're just like, "Shut down," and just turn your computer back on. So, yeah, I mean, if moral of the story, if it doesn't close when you want it to, it's not legitimate. That's when you start getting, suspicions that it's just not cool. So. So any questions on updates and that kind of stuff? That's a big topic, and I always get questions about that. And I mean, if you guys have any other questions, go ahead. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
What if you accidentally
Mm-hmm.
hit something and you realize,
Yeah.
is it not good to shut off the computer mid whatever, or is it too late?
Good question. Generally, like I said, ideally you never want to just hold the power button to turn it off. Ideally. Now, if you get to a point where your computer's completely frozen, or something like that happens, try going down to start and shutting it down correctly. If that doesn't work, then your only other option is to physically poke the power button and turn it off. That is literally a last resort. I have a computer right now in my office at home, and we were working on remotely, and for whatever reason, the computer froze up, and we were trying to troubleshoot and get it working, and she's like, "Well, I just pulled the plug out," and I was like, "No," and now I have the computer in my house for a couple days because it takes a lot more time to rebuild that, as opposed to if she would have been a little more patient and just waited to turn it off, kind of thing, But sometimes you can't avoid it, and those problems happen. So, yeah. All right. So the ill-fated security software question. So free is free. You get what you pay for in security software generally. Now, that being said, if my wife Alicia has a computer and what she does on it is strictly browsing the internet, and she's had no issues with the default security essentials or Defender, I would say stay with it. It's working for what you're doing. Now, if you're having issues, then we need to get something more comprehensive. We're going to address, I'm going to address the one that says Malwarebytes up there. I'm going to show you how to do that one, because that's a free little piece of software package that works really well that you can pay for. Viper Antivirus is another one that I recommend. And then Nod32. These are lesser known brands. They're not as public about their advertising, but they are seriously kick-butt software. Now, keep in mind, though, nothing is perfect. The combination of keeping, running CCleaner, which helps get rid of all temporary files and tracking and that stuff, and then, keeping your virus protection up to date and letting it do its stuff, and just watching out for those fake updates. With that stuff, you should be generally pretty good to go. Norton and McAfee, so on the scale of virus protection, you have your free stuff, which is down here. Now, the security essentials and the Defender, they're the top of the free. They're really good free software packages. And then kind of above that in the pay for section, you have Norton and McAfee.
So Defender is Microsoft?
Yes, Windows Defender is Microsoft, yeah. Or I think it's called Windows Defender.
So you're saying that's top?
It's top of the free stuff, yeah. It does a decent job. Not perfect, but does a decent job. So, and then on top of that stuff, you have Norton and McAfee. And on Norton and McAfee, the reason they're kind of at the bottom of the line is they are in the business of selling you additional services and stuff like that. And they're also very bloated and big software packages. They come with your computer. If you were to remove those right off the bat, your computer would run 20% faster. It's insane how much they slow stuff down. So, I mean, they're just very big. They try to do everything all at once. They try to do updating, which not successfully at all. They try to do kind of cleaning. They don't really do that well either. They want you to do all sorts of stuff, and they pop up and say, well, what do you want to do with this file? And you're like, well, I don't know. Why are you asking me? I pay you to fix this, They do that. So, that's something that you don't really care about. You just want it to work. They have a built-in firewall, which the Windows firewall is perfectly fine. You have no need, unless you're Sony, you have no need to get, some big firewall or a business firewall or anything like that. Viper Antivirus and Nod32, they're very hands-off. Once installed, it does it for you. It might pop up and say, hey, we blocked this file. You don't need to worry. Or, hey, we noticed some suspicious activity. We're going to go ahead and close it down. They're very hands-off, which is great. I use a hands-off virus protection. I offer some different services, for update and monthly stuff like that. But my software, I'm using an enterprise version of Viper. Viper is what a lot of technicians are using nowadays. It's a great software package. So, any questions on virus protection? I think we had an Avast question earlier. Yes. Yeah. Avast, it's a free, generally speaking, it's a free one. So, the problem with Avast and AVG, for example, they're always asking you to purchase because they need to make money somehow. They are legitimate software packages. They do a decent job. In my opinion, they've kind of had their heyday already, and now they're just kind of trying to capitalize off of that. If it gets so annoying that it wants you to purchase it all the time, I would get rid of it and then just put something else on. Yeah, it's not usually too bad, Okay, yes.
Just occasionally, I'm trying to do something on the computer that says turn off your security system.
No.
So I can do what I've got to do.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, okay, I guess the legitimate purpose of that would be like if you're installing a printer or something, it might pop up and say, you need to, disable your firewall to allow it to talk on the network temporarily, and then it does its thing. Or, I know Dell's guilty of that. HP printers are guilty of that. There are some other software packages. If you're doing like a lot of video editing or something, sometimes those packages will have something in it that needs to talk to the outside world, which on Windows XP you would have to allow it manually. On Windows Vista 7 and 8 and Windows 10 and kind of moving forward, you don't have to allow those manually. It will just let itself through as necessary. Generally, you don't have to. Very rarely will I run into an issue where someone calls me out and we actually have to disable their firewall or whatever. Sometimes Norton or McAfee get in the way, but it's not because disabling it doesn't help. It's just because it's a big piece of software that's causing issues. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all right.
You've mentioned Windows 10 several times, but it's not here yet.
It is not. No, I've gotten to play with it, luckily. Microsoft sends out like previews and stuff like that. They just had a big press conference and released a bunch of crazy stuff, and their goal, it's going to be a free upgrade for anyone with Windows 8. Yeah, for 1 year. So like I don't know when they're releasing, I don't know when the official release date is, but once they release it for 1 year, somehow you're going to be able to get it for Windows 10, or Windows 8, it'll be a free upgrade, so that's kind of cool. Then it's just a pay-for update. I don't think it'll be too much. My guess is $50 or something like that. Any new computer will come with it too. How many of you guys have Windows 8? Okay, quite a few. Okay. I'm sure you guys have had issues with the... Yeah, the way it looks. I don't know if you guys have heard or... It's a little bit of a pain in the butt. A lot of a pain in the butt. There are things that we can install on it to make it more like Windows 7, where it has like an actual start menu. I do that. Every computer that my customers get that has Windows 8, I do that. Because they look at it and they're like, oh, it's good for a touch screen, but it's not good for like a computer, like a laptop or desktop.
So what nice things will Windows 8 bring?
Windows 10 bring?
Windows 10.
An actual start menu. That's the biggest thing that people like about it. It has an actual start menu like Windows 7, where you hit the start button and then it pops up in the corner.
I've got a gateway which has already got its own start system.
Oh, does it? Interesting.
Yeah.
I know.
That sidebar
Okay.
is very reluctant to emerge when you go and seek the sidebar.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it comes on, sometimes it doesn't.
It doesn't,
Sometimes
yeah.
it comes on when you don't want it to.
Yeah, and for everyone with Windows 8, there's a little program, it's called Classic Shell. If you do a Google search for it, that will give you an actual start menu. Or just shoot me an email and I'll link you to it.
So you don't buy these in the store and then put them in your computer, you buy them online and they just zap them from
The internet.
space to your computer?
Viper you can get in stores, not 32. I don't know if you guys have been to Micro Center, they sell it there. I think they sell Viper antivirus down there. Best Buy is not going to sell it because they're in love with the Geek Squad stuff. So they're not going to sell it. They specifically want you to use that for their purposes, obviously. I think pretty much any computer you buy at Best Buy is going to come with Norton or McAfee. Same with Office Max or Home Depot. You're going to get you're gonna get the Norton or McAfee on the computer by itself. So
You're saying the Viper will be much more efficient than the
Norton or
say
something.
Norton 360
Mm-hmm.
and more effective as well.
Yep, generally it is. And there's a company that runs all these tests that will go in and they test everything out. And generally Viper is right at the top, kind of hanging in there. So, opinion. So, another just kind of some like safe browsing things here. Do you guys have you guys heard of Google Chrome or Firefox? Okay.
I've been trying to set up one with Chrome, but it's confusing.
It's a little weird to install. I agree. But
I'm
on
using Firefox.
Firefox, perfect. Okay, on Google Chrome and Firefox, there are some huge benefits. So, well, okay, you have Internet Explorer. It's just a portal to the internet. To access the internet, you can use Google Chrome, Firefox, or Internet Explorer. And there's actually like 100,000 different browsers. But those are like the three big ones: Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox. I personally use Google Chrome on one of my computers. I have Firefox on a different computer that I use. That's totally up to you between those two. I don't really care. I would just recommend not using Internet Explorer for the sheer reason of lots of security issues, and Microsoft stopped updating it. So just something to think about. And there's also, on Google Chrome and Firefox, there's actually a little plugin. It's called AdBlock Plus. And what it does is, I'm just going to pull it up over here. And AdBlock Plus, let's just go to AOL.com.
That's also on Firefox?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can get it on Firefox, yep. And let's just pull up AOL here. Okay, so this is AOL without advertisements and stuff on here. So there's a little plugin. I hate that that's so small. Let me see if I can do something. I'm afraid it's going to booger everything up, though. Once I send the recording out, you'll be able to see it probably a lot better. But there's a little plugin at the top, and it's called AdBlock Plus. And what it does is it gets rid of all the advertisements. And even if you're on Facebook, you know how you get all that stuff on the side, or even if you're browsing the internet in Google, it'll get rid of all those advertisements on the top and side and stuff like that. So AOL without advertisements, and then I'm going to disable this, and I'm going to reload our page here, and you're going to notice a significant difference. Hopefully, assuming they didn't change anything. Okay, yeah.
So how do I can tell whether it's on or off?
Yep, I will show you that. So AdBlock Plus. Okay, there we go. So there's a giant advertisement for taxes, because it's tax season. And once again, this is a free software package. They make money. They make money from getting money from like Google and Yahoo and stuff to not block their advertisements. What they claim is a safe advertisement. The theory is that they kind of screen them. Now, I still disable those ones because it allows you to.
So AdBlock Plus is
Yep.
an option that you can activate within Google Chrome or Firefox.
Yep. And I believe the website, which this one's not on here though, it's adblockplus.org. Just adblockplus.org. And then essentially all you would do, yep. So then once you get to their website, then you'll hit install for, if you're on Chrome, it'll install it for Chrome. If you're on Firefox, it'll say install for Firefox. Technically it works on Internet Explorer, but like I said, you don't want to be using Internet Explorer to begin with. Ideally, if you can get off of it. There are some cases in a business where they have to use Internet Explorer, or I don't know, maybe the library forces you to because that's what they have locked down and kind of secured. Or like if you work at LexisNexis, I know that they're forced to use Internet Explorer for some other stuff too. Or even like a lot of government websites might only work with Internet Explorer if you work at RatePad or something like that. So.
You're saying the reason we shouldn't use it is security?
It's security issues, yeah.
Firefox was trying to get contributions for their operation.
Yeah, they're non-for-profit. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, they don't accept. I mean, they make money by they just kicked like they used to use Google, and Google would pay them millions upon millions of dollars to use their search engine. Well, now Yahoo outbid Google somehow, and so now they're making money from Yahoo. But that's how they make money. It's always good to know where the money comes from because then you kind of know their intentions with anything on the computer. But once again, AdBlock Plus, like I said, it's a great little piece of software. I think they're a very small little organization. I think they take donations, but yeah. And then they also take it from, their friendly advertisements. So, AdBlock Plus, it just gets rid of all the advertisements. Moral of the story, it is a great little plugin. It doesn't slow down your computer or anything like that. So, and on to data backup. This is a question I get a lot whenever I'm at someone's house or at their business and that kind of stuff. Kind of the 3-2-1 rule, which is basically anything that you are really, really, really paranoid about losing. That might be baby pictures, it might be your financial information or whatever. If you have a QuickBooks file or a Quicken file with like 17 years of data, you obviously don't want to lose that. So you always want to have at least 3 copies of your data in 2 different types of storage, and 1 of them in the cloud. So what that means is, my computer, for example, it backs up to, I didn't bring my hard drive with me, but I have a little hard drive that I plug into it that will do all the backup on there. And then the other thing it backs up onto is the internet, onto the cloud. Mine backs up onto Amazon, but there's 100 different services. And I have my service that I offer is through Amazon Cloud and stuff like that. But so it's backed up in-house, 1 off-site, and it's also on my computer. So it is in 3 places. So I'm assuming if the house burns down, heaven forbid it does, I can still pull all my data back from Amazon. If Amazon explodes for whatever reason, I can still pull my data from there and also my external hard drive. So the theory is that anything you're really, really worried about, have it in 3 places, in 2 sites, like 3 different like 3 spots in 2 locations, in 1 of them off-site. And that could be even as simple as putting in a safety deposit box, something like that. So, and there's different ways to do data backup. If you don't have a lot of stuff, you can get one of these little flash drive things, plug it into the computer, copy your data over, and then just put it somewhere else. You can get an online data backup storage, that'd be like Carbonite or Mozy Backup, or I have my own backup service that I offer. There's hundreds of companies that do data backup and stuff like that. So
typically, how much capacity would one get on a flash drive? Is a flash drive the same as a thumb drive?
Yeah, flash drive is the same as a thumb drive. I just saw, just as an example, most computers now come with 1 terabyte, which is 1,000 gigabytes of storage. That's a lot of storage. I have yet to have any of my customers ever fill up that much stuff. A flash drive, the biggest one I've seen right now is 256 gigabytes. It was $99. It's about this big. It's insane. It's literally like the size of my pinky. It was ridiculous. I almost bought one just to say I did, but then I realized I probably shouldn't. So, yeah, they have anywhere from 8 gigabytes. I mean, you can get smaller now. I mean, companies give them away with 4 gigabytes on them. So I have a lady who all she has on her computer that she cares about is her Quicken data, for her credit cards and stuff. So she just pulls the file over there and backs it up every time she's done with it. Then I have people who have hundreds of thousands of pictures, and they have a little external hard drive, or a flash drive doing their backup, and then they use a cloud backup service. I don't want to make this a sales pitch, but I have an unlimited backup service that I offer personally, and it's $9.99 a month, and I install a piece of software, and that's the way most of the online backup services work, where basically you would pay them a monthly fee, and then they install a piece of software on your computer, and it does the backup. So I have a customer with 5 gigabytes, and I have a customer with almost 800 gigabytes of data. Same fee, that kind of thing. So a lot of companies offer different solutions like that. So,
That's
yeah.
done, can you get into my stuff, or Amazon backs it up,
Yeah.
and Amazon geeks get in there? Or what? I know, I
yeah,
have
yeah,
something
good question.
especially
Yeah.
exciting to get into, but it just.
Yeah.
I don't know where.
I mean, yeah, that's a good question. I guess technically, yes, anyone can get into anything if they want to. That's an example from the whole Sony hack. I mean, that's very clear that they were very targeted, and I read something online that hack itself, there was 3 days of mass hysteria in the media that we saw, but that hack took 3 months to actually draw out. And there was probably 2.5 months where Sony had no idea anything was wrong, and that someone was targeting them or that they had issues.
Didn't they have a human failure that led?
There was partial human failure, and there was supposedly inside job sort of thing, yeah. I kind of assume anything online can get to the public. That's the way I look at it. And so I'm not going to put anything on there that I don't feel comfortable with. I mean, I don't have anything weird on my computer anyways to begin with, but you know, you just want to assume anything that you put online could, worst case scenario, get out to the public. I'm sure you saw all that stuff about the actresses and actors' naked pictures being released online. In my opinion, they shouldn't have put that on their phone because it gets backed up. You know, that's just stupid in my opinion, you know. So you just wouldn't have anything that you're not willing to lose, I guess, or be public information. Now that being said, your banking and stuff like that, you'd have to be very targeted for someone to get that information from you. It's not just like a mass thing where like someone's like, ooh, I'm just going to take over everyone's bank information I have access to on the computer. It's not that easy. I mean, it takes a lot to get someone's banking information, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, I do all online banking personally. I feel comfortable with that. I get the question of, should I do online banking? It's up to you. If you feel comfortable, go for it. If you don't, don't. It doesn't matter to me. You know, you got to do what works for you. Personally, I feel comfortable though, and a lot of other, you know, my parents feel comfortable and stuff, and I'm cool with that. But I also know that if my credit card gets hacked, they're gonna, as long as I tell them within like a week or whatever, they'll just give my money back. So I'm not really too stressed over that.
I've never done a data backup. I have no idea how to do it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Yeah. What we could do, I mean, generally speaking, if we were to do like a hard drive backup, you know, that kind of thing, like an external drive or a flash drive, we could potentially do that remotely, or I could come out to your house and we can, if you have like a laundry list of stuff you want to look at. It's Windows Vista through Windows 8 and 10, I'm sure we'll have something. They all have like a built-in software package to do backup on like a external drive or like a flash drive or external hard drive or something. If you want to do the online backup, it costs money. It's a monthly kind of charge and stuff like that. But.
So if I just want to protect a backup of my system, does it download Windows 8 into the flash drive, for example?
Yeah, good question. Different types of backups will do different things. On Windows Vista and Windows 7, yes, that will happen. On Windows 8, they don't have that because Windows 8 is pretty resilient in repairing itself. Like if you were to turn a computer off during an update, your computer would probably freak out and it'd be like, oh, what happened, you know, kind of thing. And it would panic, and then it would rebuild itself, and then you'd be fine, and all of your data would most likely be there. Or if your data is not, you could just pull it from that backup. On Mac, it does a whole backup of everything on the computer. You know, on Windows 8, it's more of just like a file backup.
So where do I access it?
Yeah, if you go to Start, which essentially you would go to Start and then just type in the word backup, and then it'll pop up with a backup and restore manager and walk you through with how to set that up. It's fairly low key. Yep, just buy a backup device, shove it in, and some computers will even pop up and say, well, what do you want to do with it? And then you just hit backup and it'll do its thing. So. Okay, yeah, this, just something, a little tidbit of information. Recycling old equipment. You always want to make sure that you take the hard drives out. These hard drives, for example, they're from customers, but they've been beaten to submission on the inside. They make weird noises when you shake them. Inside of hard drives, they're basically like CDs that are stacked on each other. And once those are broken or bent, you can't get any of your data. Recycling equipment, you know, I recommend taking it to Goodwill. You know, they somehow make money off of your older crap equipment. Best Buy takes 3 or 4 items a day. Yeah, you know, those type of places. So,
Excuse me.
Yep, you're good. So I mean, any of those, you know, they won't accept it if your hard drive is in it. So you have to take it out. In a laptop, there's a little door on the bottom generally. In a desktop, you just pop it off, and you'll see something that looks just like this. Just 2 wires attached to it. It's nothing crazy. And if you're worried about it, just call me, and I take them for free, and I just recycle them and destroy the hard drives. So it's something I do. But yeah, take a baseball bat to it, or let the grandkids abuse it or something. It's good fun.
Those hard drives are surprisingly tough.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
They're incredibly tough.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're metal. I mean, yeah, they're pretty solid. But the minute you start denting and breaking the board on the back and stuff like that, I mean, generally after that, nothing's readable.
My hands were all kind of bleeding. I was working on trying to beat this and take it apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think Springboro even has like a shredding day where they take old hard drives and old papers and stuff like that. Keep an eye on the Springboro website, and I know Centerville does, and I know Springboro's had it before. we get rid of old records and stuff for my parents' business and stuff like that way. We're getting towards the end here, but kind of on the do not do list, you have avoid free music, movies, that kind of stuff on your computer. If it's free, there's a catch. Look at it that way. Avoid risky websites. If you have a lot of younger folks on it in college and that kind of stuff, they might be trying to get free movies and that kind of stuff. Or there's something called torrents, which generally are used for illegal purposes. Avoid that stuff. Don't click random update messages when they pop up. I know we had talked about that a lot. The do list is be careful what you download. Goes with any software. Just be careful what you download. Know where you're getting it from. That's why I linked to my website, because, I mean, well, I know I'm reputable, but hopefully you guys will trust me and know that stuff. And then just be safe when you're browsing the internet. Use the AdBlock Plus to get rid of those advertisements and that stuff. If you have like a 3 to 4 or 5-year-old computer, there's some upgrades we can do. The memory, which is short-term memory, like I said, the RAM, that's really good for keeping the computer running smooth. If you double the capacity, generally you'll get, a 75% speed increase on that. The hard drive can also be upgraded to help with the speed and stuff like that. If you guys have any questions, I can answer them now, and I will hand out some business cards too, and that way you have my contact information. It's also at the bottom of that flyer.